though the government is the one responsible for the poverty. They're allowing it, they're validating, they're justifying it, they're legitimizing it through the theft of the wealth of our nation, through incidents like the bailout of '08, the takeover, the banking takeover, legitimizing this criminality where they just dramatically increased our cost of living. And a lot of people got it. They said, wait, that's not capitalism. These people overextended themselves. Okay, let them fall on their collective faces, bust out their metaphorical teeth. That's what we the people want, over 90% of the people. Can you believe it? But no, it didn't happen. So, oh well, just go on our way. Oh well. 2001, 2,200 architects and engineers in 9/11, 2000. They say, oh well, you know what? It couldn't happen that way. It's preposterous. 6 out of 10 of the commissioners that investigated said, 9/11, 2001 couldn't have happened that way. But let's just go on our way, and that's it. They keep moving the Overton window in leaps and bounds now. And I'm not going for it, man. I get it. It's painful to watch and to see people not willing to share lifting their fair share weight of the cross here and help inform people. Once you get it, you don't just keep that information, that education, that knowledge yourself. You've got to go share it. You've got to pull people out of darkness into the light, out of confusion. You got to not let them say, no, I'm not going to let you be a coward. I'm not going to let you take the easy way out and prescribe to this ignorance is bliss philosophy. No, I'm going to cram this math down your throat, the statistics. I'm going to do it tactfully with the Spirit of God. Okay, but you're going to get it. You're not going to be able to run anymore. It's going to get really, really hot in the kitchen of logic and reason and truth and honesty, okay, and mathematics. I know what I'm talking about here, folks. I know. I know what they've done to us. I know how they're doing it. And we all need to get it. We all need to understand how they're enslaving us. We're all slaves. And the most miserable slave is one that is totally unaware that they're an utter slave. But you've got to get it. And if you don't like this scene, man, good. Then you're godly by nature. You see, this is immoral. This is unethical. This is injustice as the rule of the day and reigning in the land. And it just keeps growing and growing, this monster, this trajectory, the poverty, the wealth disparity. Just where does it end? Who's going to end it? How's it going to end? Is there going to be pain? How do we turn this thing around? Because that's what we want. We want the wealth disparity in reverse. We want poverty in reverse. We want a rising tide of prosperity gradually across the board for everybody. We want social, political, economic justice, not for some people, but for everybody. Not just when the Democrats are in office, hey, my guy, rah, rah. Or the Republicans, yeah, my guy, rah, rah. No, that's divisive by it's satanic that we allow ourselves to be divided like this. Good God, help us, please. I beg everybody that would dare listen to me, because you're ready for the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. If you're listening to me, man, because I'm pulling no punches. I'm telling you, this is deadly serious. This is life and death serious. And more than that, it's where we go from here. So it's about your salvation. You're going to make it. Are you going to be deserving and worthy to go to a better world? This new age, are you going to be there in this renewed planet when everything is perfect? Because that's what God has in store for those that love Him or are doing His will. That's going to be your reward. So when I tell you that, people are weak like the links in a chain, and that's what's going on here is that links are breaking, it's not a bad thing to be weak. It's just a thing. It's just kind of the way it is. So on to some thoughts here. There are many good candidates that aren't allowed to run for chairman of the Federal Reserve. I trust a lot of people, even though I might disagree on minor things, how they talk about economics, because I don't get into the minutiae at all. And the big picture, sound economic policy, that's it. It happens naturally. Supply and demand works across the board. If the government doesn't interfere with subsidies, that just exacerbate the problems. So, the most powerful job in the land is not the POTUS. but it is the chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank. Their policies, just like Alan Greenspan said, nobody supersedes their policies. And if the president can't, then good luck Trump. He's going to have to do it he's going to have to circumvent them in some very tricky 4D chess kind of move. And that's what I'm trusting him to do. I think that he knows ways to increase the worth of our currency, because that's what we need to do to slow the poverty and to get it to come to a stop, to slow this wealth disparity and to get it to come to a stop and to reverse this trend. This is what it's going to take. Hands down, the very best method of creating virulent, rabid communists is by way of pseudo-capitalism, commonly referred to as crony capitalism, or as I like to call it, crapitalism. And this is something Alex Jones and his guests need to talk a lot more about. This is what you're going to do. You're going to help people understand. You're on the same page. You were against the bailout of '08. Let's go back there. We want a reset in economic history. Let's go back there and say what would have happened. Let's say what would have been the implications if they didn't do the bailout. If they didn't bail out these too big to fail. And if they had jailed those that were too big to jail, okay, through this criminality. And we said, no, we're going back to the Glass-Steagall Act. We're not going to allow you guys to keep these ill-gotten gains, because that's what they did by going validating that bailout. That's what they did. And that's what you got to talk about. Get your guests on. You want to talk about something, you talk about what the implications would have been if they didn't do that bailout. This correction, this market correction that would have been seen in the housing market. How people on a minimum wage job would have once again been able to afford to buy a house. Let's talk about that, okay? That's what I want to talk about. And that's what informs the rabid communists what went wrong. You say you're on the same page. You get it. You hate crony capitalism because it's akin to fascism, because the government's working against the best interests of people. That's my definition of fascism. If you can't trust the own government who's hired for we the people, they're a bunch of posses that just self-interested. They become nothing more than a special interest group working against the best interests of the people. It's unconstitutional. It's un-American. It's wrong. Hey, and remember, all you intolerant people that want to squelch out other people's free speech, take down artwork, it's a two-way street. Hypocrisy is a double-edged sword. And if you push the wrong buttons in somebody, just remember, you might trigger something you don't want. And that's, tit for tat. What goes around comes around. And that's how it works. So just always remember that. On American free speech, entitlement, censorship, self-censorship, and by extension, behavior manipulation, I say this. Free speech, entitlements, censorship, self-censorship, and by extension, behavior manipulation. Yeah, that's what they're doing. I mean, you could break a lot of laws out there and be met with a hell of a lot less consternation than by breaking some social code. It's like, oh my God. Jesus touched on this point when he said, these hypocrites, they're like whitewashed tombs men step on, never knowing they're disregarding and disrespecting somebody. It's like you get a slap in the face, and it's so ironic because you've been fighting against the same thing these people that are, accusing you of. You've been fighting against it your whole life, and yet you got to take it from them. I mean, it's a tough pill to swallow, I got to tell you. But that's how they manipulate our behavior, by saying, hey, I can't think like that because these people won't tolerate it. Well, tolerance is a two-way street. Just remember that. I wish everybody had it better than me. That way I would feel better about having it better. Yeah, you know what? I mean, to me, that's so apt. It's like, yeah, I can see living a more extravagant lifestyle, maybe having a little